When Muhammad XII crossed the Mediterranean in exile in October 1493, he left behind a magnificent city that fell in the hands of the Christian kingdoms of Castile and Aragon the previous year. He was the last ruler of the longest reigning Muslim dynasty in the Iberian Peninsula, the Nasrids, who ruled the Emirate of Granada. Granada was the last stronghold of once flourishing empire. The Moors were a North African Muslim people who conquered and ruled much of the Iberian Peninsula from the 8th to the 15th centuries. Their influence of Spanish history and culture is significant and can still be seen in the country today. The Moors first arrived in the Iberian Peninsula in 711, when a Berber army under the leadership of Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and defeated the Visigothic king Roderick. Over the next several centuries, the Moors extended their control over most of the peninsula, building cities, developing agriculture, and establishing a thriving trade network. One of the most notable achievements of the Moors in Spain was the development of their cities, which were among the most advanced in Europe at the time. Cities like Córdoba, Granada, and Seville became centers of learning, with libraries, universities, and schools. In Córdoba, for example, the famous Mosque Cathedral was built, which remained one of the most impressive architectural achievements of the time. After 1228, Almohad rule collapsed and local rulers emerged again across the territory of Al-Andalus. With the Reconquista, the Christian kingdoms of Castile and Aragon under Kings Ferdinand III and James I, respectively, made major conquests across Al-Andalus. Castile captured Córdoba in 1236 and Seville in 1248. Meanwhile, Muhammad I established what became the last and longest reigning Muslim dynasty in the Iberian Peninsula, the Nasrids, who ruled the Emirate of Granada. Muhammad I likely came from a modest background, but he was able to win the support of multiple Muslim settlements under threat from the Castilian advance. Upon settling in Granada in 1238, he initially resided in the old citadel on the Alhambra hill, but that same year he began construction of the Alhambra as a new residence and citadel, according to another Arabic manuscript. This year, 1238, Muhammad I climbed to the place called the Alhambra. He examined it, marked the foundations of a castle, and left someone in charge of directing the work. And before that year had passed, the construction of the ramparts was completed. Water was brought in from the river, and a channel carrying the water was built. During the reign of the Nasrid dynasty, the Alhambra was transformed into a palace city, with an irrigation system, aqueducts, and water channels that provided water for the complex and for other nearby countryside palaces, such as the Generalife. Previously, the old fortresses on the hill had been dependent on rainwater collected from the cistern near the arcosaba and on what could be brought up from the Darro river below. The creation of the Sultan's Canal, which brought water from the Sierra Nevada mountains to the east, solidified the Alhambra as a palace city. The Alhambra is known for its stunning architecture, intricate carvings, and beautiful gardens. The most significant areas of the palace complex are the Arcosaba, Nasrid Palaces, and the Generalife. Each of these areas is unique and showcases the wealth, power, and creativity of the Nasrid dynasty. The Royal Palace complex consists of three main parts, from west to east: the Mexuar, the Comares Palace, and the Palace of Lions. The Comares Palace itself is centered around the court of the Myrtles. The architecture of the Nasrid palaces reflects the tradition of Moorish architecture, developed over previous centuries. It is characterized by the use of the courtyard as a central space and basic unit around which other halls and rooms were organized. The courtyards typically had water features at their center, such as a reflective pool or fountain. Decoration was focused on the inside of the building and was executed primarily with tile mosaics on lower walls and carved stucco on the upper walls. Geometric patterns, vegetal motifs, and Arabic inscriptions were the main types of decorative motifs. On the north side of the court of the Myrtles, inside the massive Tomares Tower, is the Hall of the Ambassadors. This was the throne room or audience chamber of the Sultan. It was in this room where Christopher Columbus received Isabel and Ferdinand's support to sail to the New World in 1492. The Palace of Lions is one of the most famous places in Islamic architecture and exemplifies the peak of Nasrid architecture under the reign of Muhammad V. Two ornate pavilions stand at the east and west sides of the courtyard, while the center is occupied by the famed Fountain of the Lions. The fountain is surrounded by 12 stylized lion sculptures, all carved from marble. The Hall of the Two Sisters, with stalactite-like sculpturing known as muqarnas, was used for three-dimensional features like vaulted ceilings. In addition to their cities, the Moors also made significant contributions to science, mathematics, and medicine. They translated Greek and Roman works into Arabic, preserving them for later generations and making them available to scholars in the West. They also made important discoveries and advancements in fields such as astronomy, chemistry, and mathematics. The Alcazaba is the oldest part of the Alhambra, a fortified area that was originally built in the 9th century by the Moors as a military fortress and was later expanded and renovated by the Nasrid dynasty in the 13th and 14th centuries. It is located at the highest point of the Alhambra complex and provides stunning views of Granada and the surrounding landscape. It is made up of a series of courtyards, towers, and walls. and was designed to protect the rest of the Alhambra complex from attack. One of the most notable features of the arcosaba is the Torre de la Vela, a large tower that was used as a watchtower and a signaling station. Visitors can climb to the top of the tower for panoramic views of the city. The Partha Palace is a pavilion structure on the edge of the Alhambra walls. It was built by Muhammad III, which makes it the oldest surviving palace in the Alhambra today, although it has undergone many alterations since. Its outside has a portico and faces a large reflective pool, while a mirador projects from its north side over the walls. Beyond the portal is an area of gardens stretching along the northern wall of the Alhambra. Several towers along this northern wall were converted into small residences during the Nasrid period. The impact of the Moors on Spain is still visible today, in the country's architecture, language, and cuisine. The Alhambra, a palace and fortress complex in Granada, is one of the most impressive examples of Moorish architecture, with its intricate carvings, arches, and geometric patterns. The Spanish language also contains many words of Arabic origin, and Spanish cuisine has been influenced by Moorish ingredients and cooking techniques. In conclusion, the Moors had a profound and lasting impact on Spain and its culture. Despite facing opposition and ultimately being forced to leave, their influence can be still seen and appreciated in the country today. The Moors represent a rich and fascinating period of Spanish history, and their legacy continues to inspire people around the world.